Binya was in the forest glade where she had first seen the umbrella. No one came there for picnics during the monsoon. The grass was always wet and the pine needles were slippery underfoot. The tall trees shut out the light, and poisonous looking mushrooms, orange and purple, sprang up everywhere. But it was a good place for porcupines who seemed to like the mushrooms, and Pinya was searching for porcupine quills. The hill people didn't think much of porcupine quills, but far away in southern India, the quills were valued as charms and sold at a rupee each. So Ram Barosa paid a tenth of a rupee for each quill bought to him, and he in turn sold the quills at a profit to a trader from the plains. So, Binya, this is another day. Binya is in the forest glade where she first met the picnickers, and from where she got the umbrella. She is in that place, but because it's monsoon, because it's constantly raining, that place is no longer picnickers are no longer there because the grass is wet, and all the pine needles are all slippery, and there are poisonous looking mushrooms springing everywhere. So because people go on picnic only on the sunny day, not on a rainy day. So most of the time there are no picnickers because of the rains. So there were a lot of porcupines. They come there to eat the mushrooms. Now Binya went there to get the porcupine quills. That is a sharp needle-like things that the porcupine have on its back. Why she needs it? What happens is they don't have, even though people don't have much of anything to do with porcupine quills. She knows that people from southern India value it as a charm. Charm is something that brings good luck. So, value it as a charm. So, she will take the quill and give it to Ram Bharosa, and Ram Bharosa will pay tenth of a rupee. That is 10 paise. He'll pay tenth of the rupee for each of the quills that she is going to give it to him, and he will sell it to some other person who is going to South India. Vinya had already found 5 quills, and she knew there'd be more in the long grass. For once she had put her umbrella down, she had to put it aside if she was to search the ground thoroughly. It was Rajaram's chance. He had been following Vinya for some time, concealing himself behind trees and rocks, creeping closer whenever she became absorbed in her search. He was anxious that she should not see him and be able to recognize him later. So, Binya had already found 5 quills, and she was looking for more. In the long grass, there was going to be more porcupine quills. So, to do that, to search, she had put the umbrella down so that she can be free and she can search for the quills. Who was following her? Rajaram was following her for quite some time, and it was a chance because she put the umbrella down. Why Rajaram was following her? She is following her to steal the umbrella from her because Ram Bhavasa is going to give him 3 rupees for the umbrella. So she was observed in the search. So he was just worried that if she sees him, she will be able to recognize him later. That is, he is from the shop, so she might recognize him, but he is anxious also, but he wants to steal the umbrella. He waited until Binya had wandered some distance from the umbrella. Then, running forward at a crouch, he seized the open umbrella and dashed off with it. But Raja Ram had a very big feet. Binya heard his heavy footsteps and turned just in tune to see him as he disappeared between the trees. She cried out, dropped the porcupine quills, and gave chase. So he slowly crouched slowly near to the umbrella, and he just took hold of the umbrella and dashed off into the trees. But Rajaram, he had a big feet, So Binya was alert enough to hear his footsteps, and just as he dashed off, she was able to see him, and she dropped, threw away all the quills, and she started chasing him. Binya was swift and sure-footed, but Rajaram had a long stride. All the same, he made the mistake of running downhill. A long-legged person is much faster going uphill than down. Binya reached the edge of the forest glade in time to see the thieves scrambling down the path to the stream. He had closed the umbrella so that it would not hinder his flight. Binya was beginning to gain on the boy. He kept to the path while she simply slid and leapt down the steep hillside. Near the bottom of the hill, the path began to straighten out, and it was here that the long legged boy began to forge ahead again. So, Binya was swift. She was also very good at running, and she was sure footed also. So, she does not slip anywhere, she did not scramble anywhere. But Rajaram had long legs. So, for a person who is running down the hill, a long legged person will not be able to run faster. He can only go up the hill faster, but down the hill, a long legged person will feel it difficult to run faster. And Binya was faster, and she was gaining on him. That is, she was catching up on the distance. So what he closed the umbrella so that he could run faster. And she simply slid and leapt down the hillside. She was faster, and she slid and leapt so that she could catch him. And they both get down the hill, and once they were on the plains, Rajaram was faster and started to go ahead. Biju was coming home from another direction. He had a bundle of sticks which he had collected for the kitchen fire. As he reached the path, he saw Binya rushing down the hill as though all the mountain spirits in Garhwal were after her. "What's wrong?" he called. "Where are you running?" Binya paused only to point at the fleeing Rajaram. "My umbrella," she cried. He had stolen it. Biju dropped his bundle of sticks and ran after his sister. When he reached her side, he said, "I'll soon catch him," and went sprinting away over the lush green grass. He was fresh, and he was soon well ahead of Binya and gaining on the thief. So, luckily for Binya, Biju was coming home from another direction. He was having lot of sticks. He has gathered lot of sticks to burn in the kitchen. That is for the cooking. And as soon as he saw that Binya was rushing down the hill, and he felt that all the mountain spirits were chasing her. And he is asking what is wrong. Then she said that the thief has his umbrella. The fellow has stolen my umbrella. Biju dropped the bundle of sticks immediately, and he ran after the thief. So he is telling, "Soon I'll catch him," because he is only fresh. He is not at run. He is fresh and he is strong. He started running faster, and he started gaining on the thief. That is, he started getting closer to the thief. Rajaram was crossing the shallow stream when Biju caught up with him. Rajaram was a taller boy, but Biju was much stronger. He flung himself at the thief, caught him by the legs, and brought him down in the water. Rajaram got to his feet and tried to drag himself away, but Biju still had him by a leg. Rajaram overbalanced and came down with a great splash. He had let the umbrella fall. It began to float away on the current. Just then Binya arrived, flushed and breathless, and went dashing into the stream after the umbrella. So Rajaram was crossing the shallow stream, when Biju caught up, and he pushed the boy down. Though Rajaram was bigger and taller than him, Biju was much stronger. He fought with him, and both of them rolled, and he pulled Rajaram's leg, and he went down on the ground. And Rajaram couldn't hold it, and he left the umbrella fall. And what happened to the umbrella? Umbrella fell in the water and started to float away. By then, Binya had also caught up with them, and though she was breathless, she went dashing after the umbrella to catch it. Meanwhile, a tremendous fight was taking place. Locked in fierce combat, the two boys swayed together on rock, tumbled on the sand, rolled over and over the pebbled bank until they were again threshing about in the shallows of the stream. The magpies, bulbuls, and other birds were disturbed and flew away with cries of alarm. Covered with mud, gasping and spluttering, the boys groped for each other in the water. After 5 minutes of frenzied struggle, Biju emerged victorious. Rajaram lay flat on his back on the sand, exhausted, while Biju sat astride him, pinning him down with his arms and legs. "Let me get up," gasped Rajaram. "Let me go. I don't want your useless umbrella." "Then why did you take it?" demanded Biju. "Come on, tell me why." "It was that skinflint Ram Bharosa," said Rajaram. "He told me to get it for him. He said that if I didn't fetch it, I'd lose my job." Rajaram finally gave up and he started asking Biju to let him go. And he's telling, "Please let me get up. I don't want your useless umbrella." So then Biju is asking, "Then why did you want to take it when you don't want the umbrella? Why are you trying to take it?" Then he tells that it's that skinflint Ram Bharosa. So he's telling that Ram Bharosa was the person, he was very greedy, he wanted to take the umbrella. He said if he does not get the umbrella, Rajaram is going to lose the job. By early October, the rains were coming to an end. The leeches disappeared. The ferns turned yellow, and the sunlight on the green hills was mellow and golden like the limes on the small tree in front of Binya's house. Biju's days were happy ones as he came home from school munching on roasted corn. Binya's umbrella had turned a pale milky blue and was patched in several places, but it was still the prettiest umbrella in the village, and she still carried it with her wherever she went. So what happened? The season has changed. It has become October. It has started become early October, and the rains have finished, and all the leeches have disappeared, and all the ferns, that is all the lush green ferns that were grown because of the rain, they all started drying out. And what happened? So there were all meadows, green hills, there were limes on the small tree in the front. It's just the season has changed. So all the surroundings, everything else was changing also. Biju was very happy and from school, and he always comes munching on corn because it was the season in which the corn is harvested. Now Binya's umbrella, it has started to become old. It has become pale milky blue, that is, it has faded, but still it was the prettiest in the whole village, and still she loved it and carried it with her all the time. The cold, cruel winter wasn't far off, but somehow October seems longer than other months because it's a kind month. The grass is good to be upon, the breeze is warm and the gentle and pine scented. That October, everyone seemed contented, everyone, that is, except Ram Bharosa. So what happens? Because season is changing, though by the end of October, by November and December, winter will come in. October was a little kind. So it was not hot, it was not cold, it was a little good. The grass was good, the breeze was a little warm, and everything started getting better. But in October, everyone seemed contented. That is, everyone in the village were quite happy with whatever they got. All except one person. Who is that person? That person is Ram Bharosa. Why he was not happy? Because he could not get his hands on the umbrella. The old man had by now given up all hope of ever possessing Binya's umbrella. He wished he had never set eyes on it. Because of the umbrella, he had suffered the tortures of greed, the despair of loneliness. Because of the umbrella, people had stopped calling to his shop. Ever since it had become known that Rambarosa had tried to have the umbrella stolen, the village people had turned against him. They stopped trusting the old man. Instead of buying their soap and tea and matches from his shop, they preferred to walk an extra mile to the shops near the dairy bus stand. Who would have dealings with a man who had sold his soul for an umbrella? The children taunted him, twisted his name around. From Ram the trustworthy, he became trusty umbrella thief. So, only one person who was suffering. Why? Because everyone came to know that Rambagasa has tried to have the umbrella stolen. So, because of that, he became greedy, and because of the greed, he became very lonely. And what happened? Everyone knew that he had tried to steal the umbrella with Rajaram, and they started not visiting his shop because they thought that he is not a trustworthy person. So instead of getting soap, tea, and everything from his shop, they used to walk a little more and they go to the dairy bus stand shops to get whatever they want. And all the children, his name is Ram Bhavosa, means Ram trustworthy person, Ram the trustworthy. To that they changed it to trusty umbrella thief. Everyone made fun of him. The old man sat alone in his empty shop, listening to the eternal hissing of his kettle and wondering if anyone would ever step in for a glass of tea. Ram Bharosa had lost his own appetite and ate and drank very little. There was no money coming in. He had his savings in a bank in Delhi, but it was a terrible thing to have to dip into them. To save money, he had dismissed a blundering Rajaram, so he was left without any company. The roof leaked and the wind got in through the corrugated tin sheets, but Ram Bharosa didn't care. So, Ram Bharosa, he actually felt the consequences of being greedy. What happened? His shop became empty. People stopped visiting his shop. And what happened? The money that was coming in was now no more coming in because people were not buying things from him anymore. So only there was his kettle, that is the tea making pot, was hissing. No one else was there because Rajaram also, he stopped Rajaram from work because he couldn't pay him money. To save money, he stopped Rajaram also. So he was all alone. And what happened? Even his shop, he started ignoring his shop. The roof was leaking and the tin sheets were all corrugating. That is, they were getting bad and rusted, but still he didn't care. Biju and Binya passed his shop almost every day. Biju went by with a loud but a tuneless whistle. He was one of the world's whistlers. Cares rested lightly on his shoulder. But strangely enough, Binya crept quietly past the shop, looking the other way, almost as though she was in some way responsible for the misery of Ram Bharosa. So Biju and Binya, they pass the shop every day. Biju will do a loud whistling noise while he passes the shop, and he doesn't really care what Ram Bharosa thinks, or he doesn't care for anyone. But Binya somehow, she looks the other way. She doesn't want to face Ram Bharosa, so she always turns her face the other side, and she will slowly creep away. And she always felt that somehow, one way or the other, she was responsible for Ram Bharosa's present situation. She kept reasoning with herself, telling herself that the umbrella was her very own, and that she couldn't help couldn't help it if others were jealous of it. But had she loved the umbrella too much? Had it mattered more to her than people mattered? She couldn't help feeling that in a small way she was the cause of the sad look on Ram Bharosa's face. His face is a yard long, said Biju, and the ruinous condition of his shop. It was all due to his own greed, no doubt. but she didn't want him to feel too bad about what he had done because it made her feel bad about herself. And so she closed the umbrella whenever she came near the shop, opening it again only when she was out of sight. So this Binya had a lot of a strong conscience. So she always kept thinking to herself. She kept reasoning with herself whether if it was her mistake or if it was not her mistake. If she because she one time she thought that Rambagasa was greedy, so he was very greedy to get the umbrella. That's why he is in this position. The other way, but she thought that this umbrella is not more important than the people. So did she love the umbrella too much that she did not care for people? So these are all her reasoning, and she was very upset about how Rambagasa felt. And so what happened? She did not want him to feel any more bad. And whenever she had the guilt in her conscience, so whenever she passed through the shop, she slowly closed the umbrella, and after passing the shop, after that only she used to open the umbrella. One day towards the end of October, when she had 10 paise in her pocket, she entered the shop and asked the old man for a toffee. She was Rambavasa's first customer in almost 2 weeks. He looked suspiciously at the girl. Had she come to taunt him, to flaunt the umbrella in his face? She had placed a coin on the counter. Perhaps it was a bad coin. Rambavasa picked it up and bit it. He held it up to the light. He rang it on the ground. It was a good coin. He gave Binya the toffee. So what happened? Binya, at the end of October, one day she walks into, she has a 10 paise with her in her pocket. She walks with that into the shop, Rambavasa's shop, and almost 2 weeks, Rambavasa did not even have one single customer. So she was a first customer after 2 weeks. He looked suspiciously at her because she was the last person he was expecting, because he did not know how to react, because he thought she's going to make fun of him or make him feel irritated with the umbrella, to show off the umbrella and make him feel bad. And she kept the coin on the counter. So he is still not trusting Binya. What he's doing? He's picking up the coin and seeing if it is real. He's knocking it on the table, he's biting it, he's putting it on the light and seeing if she is making fun of him. But it was a good coin, so he gave Binya the toffee. Binya had already left the shop when Rambagasa saw the closed umbrella lying on his counter. There it was, the blue umbrella he had always wanted, within his grasp at last. He had only to hide it at the back of his shop, and no one would know that he had it. No one could prove that Binya had left it behind. He stretched out his trembling, bony hand and took the umbrella by the handle. He pressed it open. He stood beneath it in the dark shadows of his shop, where no sun or rain could ever touch it. So, before he could even turn back, Binya had taken the toffee and she had purposely left the umbrella on the counter. So, for a moment, when Rambagasa sees it, he thinks this is the time. He can take it. He slowly take the umbrella, hide it in the back of his shop. No one will ever know it. There is no proof that Binya has left it in his shop. So no one will be able to. He slowly took the umbrella and opened it and stood beneath the umbrella for some time. But I am never in the sun nor in the rain, he said aloud. Of what use is an umbrella to me? And he hurried outside and ran after Binya. Binya, Binya, he shouted. Binya, you have left your umbrella behind. He wasn't used to running, but he caught up with her, held out the umbrella, saying, You forgot it, the umbrella. So, after getting the umbrella, he started to realize that the umbrella was of no use to him. He never left the shop and he never needed the umbrella. He never stood in the sun, he never stood in the rain. So he was always inside the shop, and that umbrella was of no use to him. So what he did? He ran behind Binya, calling out Binya's name. They went and caught up with her And he said, Binya, see, this is your umbrella. You forgot it in the shop. In that moment, it belonged to both of them. But Binya didn't take the umbrella. She shook her head and said, You keep it. I don't need it anymore. But it's such a pretty umbrella, protested Rambarosa. It is the best umbrella in the village. I know, said Binya, but an umbrella isn't everything. And she left the old man holding the umbrella and went tripping down the road, and there was nothing between her and the bright blue sky. So Binya had come to the shop with a decision. She wanted to give the umbrella to Rambasa. She's telling, You keep it, I don't want the umbrella. He's telling it's a very pretty umbrella and it's the prettiest umbrella in the village. He's telling, I know, but this umbrella is not my everything. So telling that, she leaves the umbrella with him and she trips down the road happily. Then between her and the blue sky, there's nothing. She's happy that she gave the umbrella to Rambarosa. Well, now that Rambarosa has a blue umbrella, a gift from Binya, as he tells everyone, he is sometimes persuaded to go out into the sun or the rain, and as a result, he looks much healthier. Sometimes he uses the umbrella to chase away pigs or goats. It is always left open outside the shop, and anyone who wants to borrow it may do so. And so, in a way, it has become everyone's umbrella. It is faded and patchy, but it is still the best umbrella in the village. So now things have all changed from that day. Rambarosa had the umbrella. Sometimes he went to use the umbrella to use the umbrella. He used to take it in the sun or in the rain for a while. So that way he was happy and he got better and healthier. And he always left the umbrella open. Sometimes he used to use the umbrella to chase the pigs and the goats. He always leaves it open in the outside so that whoever wants the umbrella, they can borrow it, use it and return it. So it has become faded, it has become patchy, but still the umbrella was the best one in the village. People are visiting Rambarosa's shop again. Whenever Biju or Binya stop for a cup of tea, he gives them a little extra milk or sugar. They like their tea sweet and milky. A few nights ago, a bear visited Rambarosa's shop. There had been snow on the higher ranges of the Himalayas, and the bear had been finding it difficult to obtain food, so it had come lower down to see what it could pick up near the village. That night, it scrambled onto the tin roof of Rambarosa's shop and made off with a huge pumpkin which had been ripening on the roof. So, now that people understood what has passed between Rambarosa and Binya, they started to visit Rambarosa's shop again. And whenever Biju or Binya, they stop by to get a cup of tea, he gives them some extra milk and sugar because they were children. They liked milky and sweet tea. And what happens? A few nights ago, a bear visited Rambarosa's shop. What it does? Because of the snow, it did not have proper food, so it had come into the village to find something to eat. So what happened? It somehow went on the tin roof of the Rambarosa shop and it found a huge pumpkin and it took it. But in climbing off the roof, the bear had lost a claw. Next morning, Rambarosa found the claw just outside the door of his shop. He picked it up and put it in his pocket. A bear's claw was a lucky find. A day later, when he went into the market, he took the claw with him and left it with the silversmith, giving the craftsman certain instructions. So, luckily, because the bear came, it had tripped somewhere on the tin roof and it lost a claw. You know, in the mountain people, they believed that the claws were lucky charms. So, the next morning, when Rambarosa was just opening the shop, he saw that the claw was on the door of the shop. So he picked that claw, he put it in his pocket, and later in the day he went to a silversmith. Silversmith is a person who makes ornaments or things with silver. So to him he gives the claw and leaves him with some instructions, some orders. The silversmith made a locket for the claw Then he gave it a thin silver chain. When Rambhorosa came again, he paid the silversmith 10 rupees for his work. The days were growing shorter, and Binya had to be home a little earlier every evening. There was a hungry leopard at large, and she couldn't leave the cows out after dark. So what happens? Binya, because the winter is approaching, the days were all getting very shorter, and there was also this leopard that was out on hunting. So she couldn't leave the cows in the dark. So she used to take the cows and come home earlier in the evening. She was hurrying past Ram Bharosa's shop when the old man called out to her, Binya, spare a minute, I want to show you something. Binya stepped into the shop. What do you think of it? Asked Ram Bharosa, showing her the silver pendant with the claw. So what happens? So the silversmith had made a locket for the claw, the bear's claw. He has made one locket. He has put the claw inside that locket, and for that locket he has made a silver chain, and Ram Bharosa paid 10 rupees for that chain. So what happened? When one day when Binya was quickly going through his shop, he called out, Binya, 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 come here, give me a minute, see what I have got. So what do you think of it? Asked Ram Bharosa, showing her the silver pendant with the claw. It's so beautiful, said Binya, just touching the claw and the silver chain. It's a bear's claw, said Ram Bharosa. That's even thicker than a leopard's claw. Would you like to have it? He asked. I have no money, said Binya. That doesn't matter. You gave me the umbrella, I give you the claw. Come, let's see what it looks like on you. He placed the pendant on Binya, and indeed it looked very beautiful on her. Ram Bharosa says he will never forget the smile she gave him when she left the shop. She was halfway home when she realized she had left the cows behind. Neelu, Neelu, she called. Oh, Gori! There was a faint tinkle of bells as the cow came slowly down the mountain path. In the distance, she could hear her mother and Biju calling for her. She began to sing. They heard her singing and knew she was safe and near. She walked home through the darkening glade, singing of the stars, and the trees stood still and listened to her, and the mountains were glad. So, what happened? Ram Bharosa gave her the pendant, silver pendant. He asked, what do you think of it? She said, it's very nice, so very beautiful. So, Ram Bharosa gave her the pendant to wear. He told her, it's a bear's claw, and she said, I have no money. It's okay, you gave me the umbrella, so in return, you have the pendant for yourself. He put the pendant on her neck, and it looked very beautiful. So, and Ram Bharosa always says that she gave him a very nice smile which he will never forget in all his life. So, Binya was halfway home. She reached her and she had called out all the both her cows, and slowly she walked down the mountain path because it was become late. Her mom and brother were calling out her name, so she started singing to know that she's coming, and she walked home through the dark stars, singing of dark mount path, and the stars were all singing, and all the she felt that even the mountains were glad on what she had passed. So she was very happy with whatever happened. So this is the story of the blue umbrella. What you like? Did you like the story or not? You should write it in the comment section. Thank you. Bye bye.